Francis now from ABC in New York. Hi, Aaron. How are you today?
Good morning.
Good to have you joining us. Has it been a year already since Prince passed?
2 years.
2 years?
Been 2 years.
Good
2 years.
grief.
And in that time, investigators have been trying to find the source of the fentanyl that killed Prince, and they just weren't able to do it and closed the case yesterday by saying that no one would be criminally charged.
Wow.
However, we did learn a lot about Prince's death. He, in all likelihood, did not know he had ingested fentanyl. He thought he was taking Vicodin for pain that he has had for years. And that Vicodin turned out to be counterfeit and tainted with fentanyl, and that's what ultimately killed him.
Which happens a great deal of the time in this world.
That's a great point, because the DEA has been really concerned in the last couple of years about fentanyl-laced fake prescription pills that have been flooding the U.S. drug market as fentanyl's killing 20,000 people a year in this country.
I mean, it's a great drug when used properly, but when it's used just to get a buzz, it's, as you pointed out quite clearly, it's an exceedingly dangerous drug, perhaps even more so than oxycodone or any of those other types of drugs.
Oh, it is infinitely more powerful, and that's what has been fueling the opioid crisis in this country. And I think Prince is a symptom of this larger problem, but in particular, the investigative documents show that his family and those around him had become increasingly concerned about his health. There was video that was released that showed him looking gaunt the day before his death, going into a doctor's office, and his house was flooded with pills. Some of them obtained legally through a prescription, others like fake Vicodin, clearly on the black market. And it had become apparent to those around Prince that he had an opioid addiction, and they actually tried to get him some help. But they were also supplying him with pills. The problem, prosecutors said, is they were never able to pinpoint exactly who provided him the fatal fentanyl dose.
So you said that he was seen going to the doctor the day before his death. Are any of his doctors in trouble for?
Well, one of his doctors was fined, agreed to pay $30,000 to settle civil charges that he wrote a prescription for Percocet in the name of Prince's bodyguard. And, of course, it's illegal to write a prescription in someone's name if it isn't intended for them. The doctor wanted to protect Prince's privacy, but he still violated the Controlled Substances Act, and so was, rather than go through the civil charges, he opted to settle. But it wasn't the Percocet that killed Prince. You know, Prince took this fentanyl-laced Vicodin, so they aren't able to pin the death on any individual or supplier, and that's why there's no criminal charges.
So Carver County Attorney Mark Metz says that Prince, as you said earlier, didn't have any idea that he was taking a tainted drug, as it were. And when you said they've closed this, does that mean if they ever get a lead later on down the road, they'll reopen? Or
well, of course, if someone comes into the office and says, "Hey, I'm the one," but at the moment they don't have enough evidence to prove that there's one individual who gave him the fatal fentanyl dose. There are suspicions, and the family has been suspicious of certain individuals in Prince's inner circle who they believe supplied the drugs, but prosecutors said they just didn't have the evidence.
I read an article a number of years ago, and I think it was in the New Yorker, and they talked about cocaine just coming into this country from Mexico, and that it gets cut so much, that there are additives that are put into it, that by the time it gets to the actual street and the consumers, that it's diluted so much. And heroin is another problem. That's why when you have situations like this, you either A, don't know what you got, or it's not been cut properly, if there is such a thing. And that's what's causing a lot of these deaths is people get the real deal for whatever reasons, and that fentanyl stuff will just lay out,
The DEA issued a report about this and called fake prescription drugs cut with fentanyl a global threat. And they say there are hundreds of thousands of fake prescription pills flooding the drug market. And they say that is only going to add to overdose deaths and opiate-dependent individuals.
What's to be done about it, though? I mean, Aaron Kontersky, you can arrest people, you can bring them to trial and so on and so forth, but the demand is obviously there for people who want to get a buzz on, and how do you? I mean, other than educating people about the dangers of these drugs, but
Well, I think that's it. It's highlighting the dangers, educating people how to buy medicine safely from an online pharmacy as opposed to just getting things from an illicit supplier, and trying to crack down on the origin when they can find them. So there are efforts underway, but clearly Prince's death is a symptom of a much larger problem.
Well, at least now we have some kind of an idea of what actually transpired, and the case being closed at this time. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.